find out what people are talking about in sport today. Here's Leah.
Yeah, they're talking about Qatar. We're focusing on FIFA and its continued effort to expand Qatar's World Cup to 48 teams. It's now being reported that they are looking into sharing the tournament with Oman and Kuwait. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has been pushing this idea for months now, but the concept of sharing the tournament with Qatar's neighbors is complicated because of geopolitics. Qatar is being blockaded by Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain and Egypt. However, Oman and Kuwait have remained neutral throughout this, which is why FIFA may now be considering them as potential co-hosts. This is sure to be a hot topic when the FIFA Council meet in Miami next week. Now here's a reminder of Infantino's latest comments in Rome last week.
I, as president of FIFA, am in a good position to be able to speak about football and not about politics. So with perhaps a little naivety, I can also talk openly with everyone. Qatar is open to studying the issue. We will see if its neighbouring countries will do the same. If it's possible, we will do it, and we will have a fantastic World Cup with 48 teams in Qatar and in some neighbouring countries.
Earlier, we spoke to AP reporter Rob Harris, who broke the story about Oman and Kuwait. He gave us his take on why Infantino is so determined to force the expansion.
Well, you can look at it from a sporting perspective in the fact he wants to give more countries more hope of going to the biggest football tournament on the planet. And there's another thing at play as well, potentially. His own credentials. If he can be seen as someone who perhaps brings the region together, you know, there's a distant possibility of the Nobel Prize potentially. That's been always talked about by his predecessor, Sepp Blatter. So if he can see himself as this figure beyond sport, which is something he does like to consider him as, you see his speeches at the G20 and other political gatherings, it would be a considerable achievement if he could spread the World Cup in the region to make it a tournament beyond Qatar. But, you know, this has been talked about for so many years now, and probably it is something that would have been logical at the time of the vote to actually use multiple countries rather than it just being in Qatar, given the burden on resources and the number of stadiums needing to be built from scratch. The key thing is it's rewriting the rules after the game has been played. The fact Qatar won the bid, in fact even yesterday the UAE government sports chief Al Ramathi told me actually Qatar deserved to win, it was a great success. Comments that were particularly striking given the severance of ties between the UAE and Qatar. But there'd be a number of factors in play here if additional countries are brought into the hosting, particularly given Qatar's win. There was an increased focus on human rights within FIFA. Qatar was required, obviously, to raise its standards. And when it came to the 2026 vote, the potential host had to submit really detailed risk assessments over human rights. And it's a point I made to Infantino a few months ago, which he saw, is the fact, actually, if you do bring new hosts into the plan for 2022, there will be demands for those hosts to be subject to human rights scrutiny and to check their standards are up to FIFA's. What FIFA might argue is the fact if no building work is required, particularly for the tournament, that might be a way of circumnavigating that. But it will add an extra layer of complexity, the human rights of any additional countries brought into the hosting.